Hey there, I'm back with another video. It is 5:59 p.m. It is Tuesday, almost the evening. I should have just said it was 6 o'clock, but I always try to be precise. It is 5:59 p.m. It is Tuesday evening. Well, getting close to the evening. Technically, still the afternoon until like one more minute. But anyway, it's Tuesday, and I have decided to come on here and make a video. I am extremely bored. So I did go to the library today. I had to do some printing because I don't have a printer. I did have a printer, but it broke. Okay, and obviously I could not just go out and buy another one because I have to watch money because of And so I decided to go ahead and use the library printer to take care of my IRS stuff. Screw the IRS. But anyway, I had to do that. Put it in the mailbox. And so now I feel a little bit better. I did work on my moral reset today, and then I came home. And I've just been kind of like doing a lot of thinking about how I'm arranging this, and like some of it I'm very excited, like the information that I think I'm excited to present. And I think as being a targeted individual, I think I deal with a lot of negative feelings because of the mind games that these people play. I need people to understand that this sort of behavior is not appropriate because it really causes a lot of mental collapses. It gives people, and this was, I know it was intended because originally, okay, because this was a hate crime. I was originally targeted for my bloodline, and it was their goal to block me out, make me insignificant, hoping that I would kill myself, not having any sort of hope for the future. These people are malicious, okay? So, when I think about me completing the project, when it does get completed, I want this to be taken seriously. I want to be able to send it to people that I want to send it to, and I'm hoping for positive feedback and, constructive criticism. Personally, and what I mean by constructive criticism is I think a lot of people know that I'm not the best when it comes to putting together slides that are visually appealing, okay? I actually am not that great at it. But maybe somebody could do some suggesting, and then I can get the entire thing completed based off of what their input. You know what I mean? Because it is important to me. And to me, it's about me creating great work. Now, when I created the Swan Song Manifesto, I did talk about it is my last journey here on Earth. I don't want to come back here. Okay, now, apparently, I'm somebody who's supposed to live a very long life. Okay, and I do believe that I must be here to usher in the new world. I'm going to call it the new world because some people get freaked out when you say the new world order. Okay, I will be here for however it takes to break down this old structure and present a new. Okay, so that means if I croak out at 90, then I croak out at 90. I want the world better as we move on. Okay, it's funny because I know some people think of me as 54 years old. They're like, man, you don't have any grandkids. I'm going to tell you what, this world is so shitty. I worry about kids and them growing up, and I love my son, and he's such a cute little kid when he was little. He's still my big boy, right? But he's a big grown man, right? So I mean, it's not the same. But you always adore your kid, like they're your own little baby forever. It doesn't matter how old they are. But I always often think, if I had a grandkid, how I would be really a mental basket case right now, okay? Because I've seen how I've been played around in the work sector as a woman, and I could not imagine, sending my daughter out in the world like the way that it is. You know what I mean? I am glad that my son seems well adjusted at his job and stuff, and I'm very, very glad about that. My problem is that I know that my son was exposed to certain people that I would prefer him not to be exposed with because of the attitude, okay? I want my son to understand, and I'm sure he does, okay? Because he always treats his mom with the utmost respect. But this particular group in the mindset was toxic, okay? And what I do resent is that these people were around my child, I believe, at a time when my son was a minor. Okay, that is not behave. You don't treat women that way. Okay, we do not treat women. I don't treat. That is not something I would want my son to ever do or think that it's okay to treat women that way. Okay, I'm a little emotional today because it's like I feel so. I really want. I'm passionate about my work, and then I keep thinking about these limitations that these people have put on me, and it makes me angry because it really does reduce the quality of life. And I understand that they had a religious agenda. Hopefully they understand now. I do feel as though there's peace among us, but the reason why people are supposed to be excited about living here in the United States is because we're supposed to have dreams. Where they're attainable dreams, okay? And that includes career. That's why we have like laws, employment laws, okay? I do think that there was the manipulation, the employment manipulation is very painful for a lot of people. They may not be able to express it in words, but they do. I've seen memes of the working dead and that sort of stuff. It means a lot to people to be happy at their job. I mean, this is all we really. It's sad to say, but when you really think about if employment manipulation going on behind the scenes, people really don't have a whole lot to look forward to in life. They really don't. I'm being honest, okay? I know I think about the same thing all the time. That's the biggest downer, knowing that somebody can literally control that part. They're not supposed to, but they override those sort of things, and it just puts a damper on everything, okay? And the moral reset is important to me. And it's funny because, I really want it to look, I wish I could find the right cover that kind of emulates the old 1970s style front covers of like the McGraw-Hill books, okay? Because I'm a McGraw-Hill junkie. And I know that apparently I just read an article recently about McGraw-Hill, and it looks like, they have changed ownership. So like since 2012, they had changed ownership, okay? And I'm not really familiar with a lot of their publications since, I would say early 2000s, okay? But I am interested in knowing the kind of work that they produce, specifically in certain subjects now, currently, okay? Like, government, books on government. I believe McGraw-Hill, when I was growing up, they were like the number one school book producers. That we have most of the books that we got from school were produced by McGraw-Hill. When my dad used to go out to the college, most of those books were like McGraw-Hill too. And then there was another company that they were big in the correspondence schools too. Thomson. Thomson was another big producer of student textbooks. I would like to know more about that sort of stuff, because and their angle, you know what I mean? Because the angle to me seems really important, because angles, or what I'm talking about angles is that you could, much like the problem that we have with the Mormon thing, okay? And I'm not trying to bash Mormons, because you guys are going to be coming up in my conversation a lot, because unfortunately, this is a learning lesson, okay? And I'm not trying to hold grudges against anybody. I do feel like extreme anxiety when I hear the word Mormon or anything that relates to it, because I've experienced something that I should not have experienced, okay? But when you think about, when we talk about religious schools and their curriculums and stuff like that, it really does matter how the information is conveyed to the students, okay? And so I'm interested in, learning more about private schools as far as their textbooks and their curriculums. I'm interested in that. And we'll dig more into that on my third part of my project, which is called Pathways to Excellence. Anyway, okay, I was wondering about yesterday, when I made that video. It had to have been yesterday. All the days seem the same to me. Anyway, Monday, it was Monday. I had mentioned that my concern was when it comes to the employment sector, has this affected, not talking about like working for somebody else, but I'm talking about women owning not online businesses, but like brick and mortar type businesses. Has there been any sort of plans that were undermining your efforts in order to be successful? Because I want to know how big this attack really was on the country. You know what I mean? The thing is like, I get the feeling that, they obviously create like their blacklist. They targeted certain kinds of people. Like when they were blacklisting me, making it seem as though I was not a good person, blacklisting and damaging my reputation. Do they do the same thing for women who own businesses? Women own businesses. Do they go around their churches or poison other people's minds to not frequent women businesses? I'm trying to understand how big was this attack on women, or how big was this attack, because The thing is that, yeah, I would love to find a work for a job. A job is great, but as a person who is responsible and know that I'm responsible for my own future, and I only want to be responsible for my own future. I do not want to sit here and ask for handouts or, beg for somebody or even worse, rely on somebody's income. I will not do that. So I should have options. Okay. So here's the thing, I applied to jobs on Indeed.com. They made it very difficult for me to go out and, advertise. They dominate the internet, right? I mean, they can block you out social media wise, shadow ban you, make it difficult for you to get your voice across. I remember when I tried to get it on LinkedIn, they were saying, "Oh, she didn't have her 4-year degree, so let's just not, don't tell people not to connect with her." These people were absolutely brutal, and they really. The more I think about it, of course, I'm going to get angry about it. So when it comes to women who own businesses, what exactly were they doing, or did they do anything? And I guess I could maybe meditate and find out, okay, and maybe eventually I will, okay, but this whole conversation makes me very depressed, makes me very emotional, because when I think about the thoughtlessness and the danger of this sort of thing, okay, it's like, what are you doing? I understand that there was a white agenda for men to get back to the way that they wanted things to be, meaning like having women in positions of submission, and not really thinking that whole plan through. Kind of like the early Mormons, like when early Mormonism, they practiced polygamy, and oftentimes, like, if the man died, the woman would have to marry her brother, kind of like me when I was King Tut's wife. And so if my husband died, guess what? I'm getting passed down to the rest of the relatives. Now think about this, okay? How would women feel if you brought that system back? And let's say if you raise your family, right? And you have a child that's like 14 years old. You have a child that's like 14 years old, and then you ended up dying, and then your wife gets passed on to maybe your brother or somebody else, and then you have somebody else raising your kids. That right there is a possibility of abuse right there. Why? Because they don't have an actual like maternal or paternal type bond naturally, and sometimes that does matter. Okay, and they don't really have the same patience for them. Sometimes those situations work out good, but what if they don't? And most of them don't. So where is she going to go? What is she going to do? What's your kid going to do? Because this is a seriously high potential of abuse. Now, I understand that the plan did not fall through. It didn't go through the way that you guys wanted to. And you know what? You should be very glad that it didn't. Because that's a nightmare. Because it wasn't really well thought out. You know what I mean? I do understand your need to populate. I get it. I get it. And I'm saying that I don't necessarily think the idea of cloning is all bad. I'm just saying is the way that you cultivate them and put them in their positions, such as like in my case, that's a bad idea. I would think that perhaps maybe like a group orphanage would possibly be even better. Possibly. I mean, I understand people you want to raise clones in, I know you guys never thought about this before, but yes, clones need love. They need a loving environment. They need people who care, okay? So really you need to think that whole thing through, okay? Because like I said, it's really about the quality of life. People want to live. Of course, I mean, I'm starting to think of this as earth dwellers, and I'm going to be doing a follow-up video on it. Earth dwellers. Earth dwellers are people this particular group of people who were inspired to create clones in the first place. And then now that clones are, I guess, there's plenty of clones, right? And we all know that certain religions were based around this idea of clones. Like, the Jehovah's Witnesses. How are you going to live on paradise on earth? They used to talk about that through cloning. Had to have been, right? So, I mean, but these people were not the white agenda was not meant to be a paradise on earth, because it would be the enslavement of women. And that's no joy. That is no joy at all. That's like a nightmare, like you couldn't even imagine. Plus, the kids would grow up in a very dysfunctional family. If you really, really think about it, it would be like the same situation all over again. You know what I mean? But worse, because this woman would be sealed in with nowhere to go at all, no help. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I did think about the issue of, what if I wanted to have a business? Now, I am in no position to have, like, I don't have any money. I have no startup. I have nothing like that. But see, these people were trying to block me out. I have to think about my future. Now, I know a lot of people, they sit around, they're like, oh, whatever, they'll apply to something. I can't find a job and they'll give up or whatever. I'm not one of those people. I understand it is my responsibility. I have never asked anybody for anything, so I need to keep my bases covered and understand what are my options. And yeah, this is who I am. I don't, like I said, I've always been this way. This is why it pisses me off that this has been going on for so long. Because it not only do I need money, I need to be active. I need to be active and I need to be productive. I need to be productive. This is who I am, and I need to be productive in the things that drive me, and right now I feel very stagnant. Now, I did update my Alignables profile and I'm calling myself an occupational engineer. Yes, I'm giving myself my own title, okay, because I really think titles are bullshit anyway, right? The majority of them. But yeah, I'm going to consider myself an occupational engineer. If you look at my profile, I do talk about offering temporary services. That means like people could call me if, like, for example, maybe their secretary is out on leave or whatever. They can contact me and I will cover for that person. Of course, ideally though, I would like to find a permanent position. You know what I mean? Or if I could be taken seriously as an occupational engineer, help a company start up their business and get things streamlined. And then when they're all contented, everybody's in their place, I can get another assignment and work for a company until I help their startup and then move on with that. And yeah, I'm dead serious. This is the reason why I'm keeping my bases open. Okay, and it's not, I'm open to employment, but I'm also open to doing what they call 1099 work, which when you post these little advertisements of you being an occupational engineer, chances are if I was to come on or work for a company as an occupational engineer under that and the services that I provide, yes, I would get a 1099 at the end of the year. That would make me different than a regular employee. So my question is, do Mormons also attack people like when they try to apply? And I'm not trying to, start crap, but did Mormons also attack or prevent or put things in place to where women cannot get business licenses, or people who don't have 4-year degrees can't get business licenses? This is BS if that's the case. Whatever the stipulation, you are allowed to have a business license. Okay. I'm very angry at the filtering and then people, because there are some people who are, okay, who are 4-year degreed, okay? And there's some people who have remarkable talents, who are innovators that would never have those sort of ideas, and the inventions would have never originated from that institution. I'm talking about the institution, the formalized institution of what they call school, college, university, or whatever. These are just innovative type ideas that people want to run with, and it cannot be learned through those means. Okay, so what are you doing there? I don't need people trying to put the stamp of approval. Legally, you have no right to put the stamp of approval. I'm not just talking about Mormons. I'm talking about people who want to sit there and squash the fire out of people who have plans, who have vision. I have vision and I have passion, which means I need to do something with it. So please get out my way. And I'm not talking about just Mormons. I'm talking about anybody. And that's the way it is. The law protects me. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't like sitting here without an income. I need to get back to work and I need to figure out what I want to do, what I need to do. Okay. So my question is, and if somebody's watching this video who can answer, who's a woman, who may have tried to get her business license, if you experience any problems, I want to know. I want to know. If you're somebody who doesn't have a 4-year degree and you tried to apply for a business license, did you have a problem? Or you're just a woman. Did you have any problems trying to apply for a business license? If you're a minority, did you have a problem? I want to know what's going on exactly, why these people feel as though they have the right to dictate who's going to be successful. And I understand there's always things like competition, okay? McDonald's has always been in competition with Burger King. Well, that's kind of an old competition, but I can't think of anything right now, okay? But that's always been the case, okay? But there's certain competitions that you really have no right to be doing. Okay, because it resembles things like genocide. And the thing that I was dealing with is exactly that. So I want to know, did you screw up the 9 to 5? Did you also screw up the um, platforms online? And are you also trying to prevent people from having regular brick and mortar businesses or home businesses, which would require people to get a business license? I want to know how deep this goes. Okay, so I did get the intuitive message that I will get some assistance with the initiating the new the new, what do you call it? The moral reset. I created. I can't even think of it right now. Okay, yeah, the moral reset. I know that my online persona has been dictated, manipulated by this particular group that was against me. Okay, at first. And I understand that even members of my soul tribe were convinced to go against me. I think a lot of people were concerned about my political abuse, mainly because since the Mormon church had such an influence on, which is crazy to me, okay? So it had the influence on my soul tribe, okay? Possibly by force, okay? Since I wasn't somebody who was on board, and mind you, I didn't know exactly the Mormons were behind it at the time, okay? But because I wasn't like everybody else, there was a lot of people who were mistreating me or ignoring me or trying to shadow ban me or trying to like mess my name up, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But so my thing is that some of these people who were against me now understand that I had it right all along, and so this to me, this work that I am creating, the moral reset, is very important. Not only do I want to see it here in California, I want to see it throughout the United States. I want the United States to be so fine-tuned, okay, such good citizens that people look at this country and have respect for it again and model it after our country, like we used to be. Okay, I don't know if people have like lost respect for the country, but it makes me wonder when I'm trying to scroll for like my phone number, and then the selection on the scroll, right on the very bottom. The United States used to be on the top, without question. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I really do think that we need to bring up the morale in the country, as not just our morale, but it's our behavior, the behavior, and also enforce the laws that need to be enforced. You know. Anyway, I'm looking forward to sharing my project. Also, I also got the message that my objective for the new Earth is understood and now embraced by those who were once against me. That's similar to the first message, but yeah, I mean, I think people wanted to just immediately shut me down when they first. Well, I think these people have known about me for a very long time, but I don't think people really knew me. Like they may have seen me, they may have heard me talk about something, maybe one little subject, and they automatically cast judgment on me. You know what I mean? The thing is that anytime you go against a religion. Now, I wasn't going against the Mormon Church because I didn't even know the Mormon Church was involved at the time. But still, when religion has the power or the ability to color you, meaning like they dictate how other people see you, okay? And because they were so powerful and they had the ability to offer people incentives or perhaps maybe scapegoat these people and put them in the same position that I was, which was like, ostracized, these people used manipulative tactics in order to get people to turn against me, whatever the case is, okay? Yes, this is who I am. I'm a very strong personality. I have a very strong personality. I'm somebody who I consider very moral. You know what I mean? And that's not to say I never do anything wrong. Like, I was talking about laws and stuff. I know, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was over there across the street from Albertsons and I jaywalked. That's illegal. Okay, that I totally know that. I'm aware of that. I do things like that too. I'm not like, but my point is when it comes to human behavior and how we treat other people, okay, I'm talking about those sort of things, okay? Because it matters. It matters, okay? And our, the behavioral traits that we exhibit, can land us in hot water. If you're somebody arrogant and that or somebody who is so pompous that you can't consider things or you don't want to give anyone else consideration, you're not going to listen to, or you could develop jealousy that literally blinds you to the fact that you actually did something illegal. That's actually, these people who did this, they really should, they deserve, Rex Laverne, he deserved it. He deserved it. And this is why I don't feel sorry for the man. You know what I mean? It's not like he didn't hear the warning. It's not like he didn't know, and he knew he was making somebody suffer. You know what I mean? But then again, like I said, when you deal with people with like deep ideas of like dominion theology, people who have this kind of brainwashing, it can be very dangerous because this was their goal. Their goal was to destroy my life. This is the reason why they brought me back in 1956, okay, to set me up again so that they could try to beat me, to compete against me. I never wanted to do anything like that. Do you understand how warped that is? This is an a highly archonic religion. Now, I do get this feeling that the Mormons have developed respect for me. And I also get the intuitive feeling that, the Mormons are changed their view a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm just going to tell you that I do want peace, but this sort of thing should never ever happen again. Not in any religion. So when you religions are looking at this situation, right? They need to understand to not repeat this. You know what I mean? It's very devastating. But yeah, when it comes to the new earth, that's going to take time, and it's going to I need cooperation from people in these positions, people who have decision making power, people who have the decision making power. You know what I mean? And I know that a lot of these people who have decision making power at one time were highly influenced by this particular group. You know what I mean? So, anyway. What else do I want to say? Yes, as far as the occupational engineer, that would be considered like a business, a side business, or a 1099 type thing. And so, I'm keeping my options open. And I have to. And see, the thing is, when you're dealing with networks that want to control every single thing that you do, they don't understand, like, I mean, of course, like I said, the whole objective was to destroy my life. They destroyed my credit. Okay? I want my compensation. I want to be compensated. I want to be compensated, meaning like I'm angry that I sit here every day with nothing to do. I don't want to be like that. I've been cheated out of my life. I want an activity every day. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm very upset and frustrated that this happened. Very upset. Anyway, so I want to go ahead and change the subject, if you don't mind. I'm going to talk about my earring collection that I created myself. And so, I have beads here, and I do have jewelry making tools. And I am not an expert. I have seen people who have created jewelry far better than mine. And I know when I was dealing with the targeting that, they were talking about me and they were trying to bully me out of me wearing earrings, jewelry, hair pieces, clothes, makeup, anything that I enjoyed, okay? Because that was their goal. They wanted to destroy me. They wanted me to commit suicide. These people were very sick, okay? I did mention a couple of days ago, I don't know if I uploaded that video because I know I made some videos and then I deleted it. But see, when I think about, how they don't like women, I guess this is a Mormon doctrine or maybe a Mormon, whatever. I had mentioned, celebrities, a particular celebrity. Like I remember when I was little, I used to see the Osmonds. Okay, I remember seeing them on TV. I think just about everybody watched that. Okay, but Marie Osmond was always looking great. Okay, I remember her wearing makeup on the show and some pretty fabulous looking outfits. So is it okay for women to look great on stage when you can make money off them? Or is it only wrong when they want to feel good about themselves? See, this is why I have no respect for the Mormon Church. Okay, and I'm sorry, I just had to say that. Okay, because it's hypocritical. And see, this is the sort of thing that I need other people to start paying attention to and questioning when they see that. This is not me bashing Mormon churches. I'm saying when people talk about religions trying to put, restrictions on them, look around and observe. Look around and observe. Okay, because sometimes they're just doing that to reduce you, hurt you, and attack you personally. Because I know when I was working, I'd go to some of these job interviews. The whole plot was to reduce my quality of life. Okay, I remember going to a job interview, and this woman had 10 times more makeup than I would ever wear. Okay, she had expensive clothes and stuff. So why is it okay for her to sit here and interview me, but I'm supposed to be somebody who's supposed to be stripped down and completely nothing? Okay, this is why I started paying attention to what was going on, and I knew that was bullshit. Okay, but I did know there was a time where they were trying to initiate that on everybody. The force of uniform. Why would you want somebody to work in a demoralized manner? Unless, of course, you enjoy that sort of stuff. And if you enjoy that kind of stuff, then what kind of energy or what kind of, what do you call it? What kind of force are you connected to? And I'm not pinpointing Mormons specifically, as I just said that last sentence. I'm just asking that in general. So anyway, let's go back to the earrings, okay? When I start talking about the things that I like, I know that in the past, growing up, that they would bully me. Even growing up in school, anything that I liked, it was fun for these people to try to bully that out of me. Okay, it is very sick. Okay, and I'm very grateful that I realized, I have the right to live my life, and I always push through. Do not let other people bully you out of the things that you enjoy. This is why you are supposed to go for the things that you want to and defend them. You have the right to defend your personal choices. Okay? Because if you don't have any choices, you might as well be dead. That's the truth. Okay? That's why people brag about, how people fought for this country, fighting for our freedom. It's worth fighting for. Now let me go back into my earring collection. Now I made this pair of earrings I think about 2 months ago. Okay, and now I don't think I've worn them yet, and I might have shown them to you right after I made them. But this is a blue color, and I love blue, and yeah, the earrings are not expensive. You can get earring holders, like the little part that goes into your ear. You can get the wire part anywhere. I usually get them at Walmart, and I have so many saved up. I don't need to buy any more for a very long time. But I've seen them at Walmart, and of course they're at Michael's or at Joann's. You can also pick them up. Did I say Walmart? I think I did. Anyway, but I've also seen them at the dollar store. Like you can get the 10 in a pack. And then, of course, you can get bead packs of all kinds of different colors, and wiring and all that other stuff. I want you to take a look at these earrings. Can you see these? Is that good enough? Yeah, I like this bead. And then I put a bead at the very bottom. But yeah, what do you think of these earrings? I'll let you see these real quick. And I like blue and I like yellow together. To me, the contrast reminds me of kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. A lot of things that I am attracted to reminds me of as for childhood, because I would say that childhood was like the last time I remember feeling like joyously happy. I often wonder, like, why did when I was little, I could not wait to be an adult. And I'm thinking, why did I wish for that? Life was exciting. And I think this is what people miss when they're an adult. They no longer have anything to look forward to. And going to the wrong workplace could just literally bury you with that thought. I think most adults think this. They think, well, what was I thinking when I wanted to be an adult? But when you get to a really bad workplace, it makes you feel even more hopeless. The workplace is so important to needs to be a better type vibrating energy. Anyway, these earrings are cool. I'm looking forward to wearing these with something. What I mean? I do have clothes to wear, so I just haven't been wearing them. I just been making them and just kind of putting them off to the side. So that's one pair. Okay, here's another pair. This right here, I love the color. It's blue, and they have gold flexes on it. I hope you can see this. Maybe it's wiggling too much. Can you see that? I like that. And then I have these little wire hooks, right? They come in silver and gold color, This one's gold. The last one was silver. So it looks similar, possibly, but I like it. And this, I would say the gold looks better with the yellow than the silver. These earrings I made because they kind of look like UFOs. I was really bored that day. I was kind of getting back into the alien thing. Like I told you, I was never really crazy about aliens. But after I made my first quarter newsletter, and I did that video, I was just kind of into the alien thing. I even had some glow in the dark aliens for in a box somewhere. I was gonna put them around my room, so that when I turn out the light, I can have something to entertain myself. Yes, I get that bored. I like glow in the dark stuff. I like night lights with color projections. I do anything I can to stimulate my brain. I am that beyond bored of existing in this. Like I'm just completely, absolutely bored. Anyway, so I try to entertain myself as much as I possibly can. Truth. Anyway, what do you think of these earrings? I will wear these. And see, I used to always like silver more than I liked gold plated things. But every once in a while, I guess it's kind of nice to try something different. So, I like these. Not bad. All right. This color combination, I like turquoise with red. I think maybe it's because the blue represents like a cold, and then the red color is like a hot color, and then kind of like, I don't know, maybe it kind of strikes a balance. But I have this white peasant blouse that I would like to wear these earrings with a pair of jeans. I think that would look really nice. Let's see, let me grab some white. Yeah, I got this peasant blouse just recently, and I think it was like last fall, and I haven't worn it, but I think it would look really cool with this color, turquoise, and you know where I got it? I'm probably inspired by, kind of by a lot of the Native Americans. I've seen that. That's probably where okay. Some of their jewelry inspires me a lot. Okay, and the combinations. It doesn't look like it, but the color combination is probably inspired by that. So I like that, and I think it looks good with the white blouse. When I actually do wear it, I'll take a picture and I'll upload it. So anyway, but this one, I've noticed that I like that color combination so much that I made 3 more pairs that are, well, 2 more pairs that are similar to it. So we have this pair right here. It's pretty. And then I made these ones right here. And this also has a silver hook and silver beads along with the turquoise and the red. And what do you think of these? Hey, I like that. I like that a lot. With jeans too. Now, I don't think these are real turquoise pieces. I doubt it, but they're turquoise color. Now, this one's kind of bland. It's like a gold and brown color, and you can also get beads with different kinds of things on it, such as beads that are shaped like dice. You can get beads that are shaped like birds, animals. Just check out online. Like bead varieties, and if there was a store, there used to be a store over here in Bakersfield that was a bead store. I don't know if they're still open or not, but keep your eyes out open for beads if you're interested. And I will tell you, making jewelry is not difficult. But like I said, there are some people who are more better at it than I am, and I try to stick with basic stuff. Like I make earrings, I make bracelets, I make necklaces. And there were times where in high school, I used to make rings, but I don't do that anymore. But yeah, these are nice. And let me show you 2 more. I really don't like these as much, but silver sorry, it's not silver. It's actually like a gold plated with a red. I'm not sure what I'll wear this with. I usually don't wear things like this, but it doesn't look bad. There's certain kinds of reds that look better on me. I think I'm more of a brick red, burgundy, maroon type of red. I don't think I'm like a bright red type person. But, what do you think? Okay, and this is the last one. Gold and blue. I think these are cute, but I have not worn these yet. When I say worn them, I'm talking about worn outside or worn with an outfit that I put together. I just made them and put them away. So here we have these. Oh, I like these. And they match my glasses. Now, I do have those glasses where you can, like, change the front of them. Right now I have, like, blue on front of them, and then you can take them off and they're brown. So these match right now. That looks kind of cool. All right, so what else do I want to show you? Okay, so, I go to the library, right? And I was thinking, they have arts and crafts there. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to love arts and crafts. I used to go to, they didn't have arts and crafts at the library, but they did have them at the Parks and Recreation when I was growing up. And I remember making like refrigerator magnets, and I made them out of tile for my mom, right? And I was really excited about giving. I used to love giving my mom presents, right? It was just so exciting, even though she was like a woman who had been married for many years and she already had everything, and she couldn't possibly. She had enough, okay. But little kids make these little presents, and they really are excited about giving them to your parents, right? And anyway, I remember she kept that refrigerator magnet on the refrigerator for many, many years. Okay, as a matter of fact, she had that on there since until I was like an adult. Okay, but anyway, I love making refrigerator magnets. Now I usually work with felt, and I was thinking about asking if we can do one of my projects at the library, right? Now I took this off my refrigerator because these are one of the refrigerator magnets that I made. Okay, and this consists of felt and here's like my little apple dude. This consists of felt, foam sheets, because you have to have foam sheets because you want to give it a little bit more. There's like the little foam sheet inside the apple, so that way it has a little bit. It's more firm, okay, so it doesn't bend and flop all over the place. So this is like felt, a foam sheet, and some of those like little eyeballs that you get at the Dollar Tree. I got these at the Dollar Tree. I have a whole plate full of like little knickknacks. So I kept thinking, well, maybe I could just bring this idea over to the library and see what they, what they think, and people can do it. Now I put little magnets on the back of this, right? So you need felt, eyeballs, thread, because yes, this is sewn together. So you'd have to cut out two pieces of the for the apple, and then the little leaf, and then of course the stem, and then I drew the mouth on there, and then I just stuck the little eyeballs, and I made the pear in the same way, right? And I've also made keychains, felt keychains and stuff like that. I mean, I absolutely love this kind of stuff, and I know it's childish, right? Childish, but I enjoy seeing kids wear my stuff. Like, I like making hair bows and stuff. I love making hair bows. I like hair barrettes, stuff like that. And I would love to have little girls wear my stuff, right? I did tried to make like an online shop, but of course that got sabotaged as well. And I wanted to do prizes on my YouTube channel and give away like mojo type stuff. What mojo type stuff is like, I might go walking and find this weird plant that I think might create, cool dreams, and then stuff it into like stuffed dolls and stuff like that and sell them on my website. I was thinking about doing weird stuff like that. And I know it would get obstructed by these weird whack jobs, right? But it's my right to do that. You know what I mean? So, I want to venture into whatever I want to venture into. I want to enjoy life, as I should, and I get tired of people blocking me. But when it comes to, me making things for like little girls, like the barrettes and stuff like that, they're not anything like mojo-ish or anything like that. I just think it looks cute when kids wear stuff like this in their hair. Like, you can wear apples, you can wear bows, you can wear ribbons, you can make mice or something, heart shapes, rainbows, whatever it is. I just like making things like that. And I also like making things for little boys too. Like I made a stuffed dinosaur recently. And it's some of the stuff's in a box. Okay, I do remember making this pillow a while ago, and I actually wanted to make this pillow as a giveaway. And I thought this was cute. This is my like little hedgehog pillow. And it's unfortunate that, people just kind of squash me out the way that they do. You know what I mean? Because it affects my life, because I create things and I'm not able to do and joyfully give or even perhaps sell if I wanted to. And that pisses me off. You know what I mean? So it's like, I really wish you guys would get off my shit. I really wish you guys would, okay? And let me do what I want to do. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. I needed to talk about that, okay? I just really did, because the thing is, I may not want to go to New York. I may not want to, go to anywhere else in the country, or whatever. But I don't want anyone ever blocking me and telling me I can't. Do you understand? Because in this world, I want my freedom, which I deserve. Okay? And I'm very angry that anybody thought that they had the right to tell me how to live my life. Okay? I want my freedom. As I should. I have the right to enjoy my life. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. And I will be back with another video sometime later. And I hope you guys liked my crafts and stuff like that. If you are somebody who can respond and let me know what's going on with women in businesses, I would greatly appreciate it. Until then, I'm going to wrap this one up. Take care. Bye-bye.